Coming up on the live and interactive ACSA Legislative Lunch Break, we'll bring you all of your latest news and information from the state capitol and CDE with an in-depth analysis on how it impacts you. Plus, we are in the midst of the August legislative session at the state capitol. We've got two experts in the field, our ACSA legislative advocates on the show to bring you updates on everything you need to know that's happening in the state capitol. The ACSA Legislative Lunch Break starts right now. And it's just after 1 o'clock. We welcome you on a Wednesday to the live and interactive ACSA Legislative Lunch Break. I'm Naj Ali Khan, ACSA Senior Director of Marketing and Communications. Welcome. We are honored to have you with us today. Go ahead and jump into the chat and say hello and let us know where you're watching from. You may wonder where Edgar is today. I can't say that Edgar is technically on work assignment, but he's got another assignment going on. He is moving his daughter, his eldest child, down to college today. So an alert for all of the Targets, Costco's, and Ralph's grocery stores in Southern California. Edgar and daughter may pop up at any moment for those last minute dorm supplies, but we wish him and his daughter luck as they get started with that next phase in their life. Mary Stark first on the broadcast today in the comment section. Jason Engel with us as well, and Sheldon Smith. Again, go ahead and jump into the chat and say hello and let us know where you're watching from. Coming up in just a couple of moments, we will bring on our ACSA legislative advocates, Sarette Kaminsky and Dorothy Johnson. They have a full rundown on what's happening during this August legislative session at the state capitol, including updates on some important legislation involving health, involving streamlining of reporting, and our 70-day subs bill. We'll get you updates on all of that coming up. First, want to just give you a couple of news stories, and you may have seen this. The Consumer Affairs Journal on Consumer Research ranked California public schools as 7th best in the United States. Good news there. The Consumer Affairs Research team analyzed all 50 states among 4 categories: the K-12 academic outcomes, school funding and resources, higher education, and school safety. California ranked and among these categories here 18th in K through 12 outcomes, 15th in school funding, 2nd on higher education, 29th on school safety. And I know you're interested. Who were the bottom 5 states? Arizona rated the worst, followed by Alaska, Idaho, Louisiana, and New Mexico. We'll go ahead and put a link to the chat. A link to that article in the chat. Also want to alert you to a blog post published by the Public Policy Institute of California, and we'll put a link to that in the chat as well, on English learners and the challenges with reclassifying EL students and the different tests according to the writers that are being used for assessments. These writers have 3 suggestions on simplifying the process, streamlining the process, something we'll be talking about in just a moment inside the state capitol. So go ahead and read that story. Again, we'll put a link to both of those stories in the chat. Want to say hello to a couple of more of our viewers today. As I mentioned, Sheldon Smith was there, Jesus Montana, Ryan Beardsley with us, Dr. Joe Wood with us as well. Again, go ahead and say hello to us in the chat. All right, August legislative session. This is where the things are wrapping up as best as possible after the legislative year. Let's go ahead and bring our experts into the from experts onto the show. I'm getting our garbled up here. Sarette Kaminsky, ACSA legislative advocate. Dorothy Johnson, ACSA legislative advocate. Sarette and Dorothy, thanks so much for joining us here on the live and interactive ACSA legislative lunch break. You just get stuck with me today, so we'll have nothing but jokes at Edgar's expense as we go throughout the show. Dorothy, let me start with you. General thoughts on this legislative year, especially with this being Governor Newsom's last year in office. What do things look like for the advocacy team?
Well, thanks, Naj. Great to be here. Great to be with the ACSA audience. As much as people are focused on Newsom's final months in office and all that, we are really just honed in on these final few weeks in the legislature. They have just until August 31st to pass hundreds of bills, out of the Senate and out of the Assembly and get them to the governor's desk. It's really make or break season. We just got through the suspense file deadline, so bills that have a fiscal impact had to get to the floor for a vote, and now we're facing the amendment deadline. So if any bills want to get changed before their final vote, we have until the end of the week. And so we have issues that we've been working on for many years, whether it's SRET and the 70-day subs, whether it's the classified employee statewide database, trying to get that across the final finish line. But then on top of it, we could see some gut amends, some brand new proposals pop up with only 72 hours notice before they're voted on. We call those sometimes the mushroom bills because they just grow overnight and show up, and we have to be ready to advocate on those. So I know a lot of folks are thinking about the rest of the year, but really we are just honed in on this final push while the floor session concludes.
Every single time one of our legislative advocates comes on the show, I learn something new. So mushroom bills, thank you, Dorothy, is going to be the word of the day. Let's tackle some bills that we've discussed over the past couple of weeks here on the ACSA Legislative Lunch Break. So we'll start with you and Assembly Bill 2490, the 70-day subs bill. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so Assembly Bill 2490 by Assembly Member Valencia seeks to provide continuity to students by allowing the use of up to 70-day subs for both general ed and special education settings. The good news is that we passed through that fiscal hurdle Dorothy just talked about last week. So we're headed to the Senate floor next week. The bill is not the same COVID era flexibility that we had for those 3 years. As it's been moving its way through the legislature, we've had to add 5 hours of professional development, orientation, and mentorship components, plus a parent notification piece, and that's to adhere to ACSA's compliance with the 10-day business notice. And then we also have an annual notice to the board when the flexibility is used. But the good news is that the bill doesn't have a sunset like it did last year. We've modified it so you can use it up to 70 days since the paid pregnancy leave was passed. We've been negotiating some amendments with the administration for weeks now to ensure that the bill will be signed. There is still opposition to the measure by the California Teachers Association and by civil rights organizations like Public Advocates and Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund. So I think we are in a good place. It'll still be really important for the governor to get what would happen in lieu of this continuity. And the subturn is real, especially for hard to staff positions. So the governor really needs to hear local examples of how AB 2490 could provide continuity for students.
Okay, so we've got some other bills that require action from our members. And I will pivot, Dorothy, to you in a second about the mechanics of what makes a good advocacy pitch. And we'll be putting up periodically a banner during the show that will give you more information on where you need to go to do some advocacy. Saret, let's talk about the math screeners bill.
Yeah, my colleague Diana Vu has been working really hard on opposition for Senate Bill 1067 by Senator Weber Pearson. This bill would require the implementation of a statewide mathematics diagnostic assessment for students in kindergarten through grade 2, second grade, without additional funding or supports for students and educators. And while we absolutely share the legislature's commitment to strengthening early mathematics outcomes, Senate Bill 1067 is premature, it's not evidence-based, and it's misaligned with California's current investments in mathematics teaching and learning. Our opposition includes CTA, the California County Superintendents, the Mathematics Council, Californians Together, and several LEAs. We anticipate that it will make it out of the legislature, so we're asking viewers to please email the governor's office with opposition to this measure. And I'll pivot to Dorothy because I know she can add some color to what members should keep in mind when taking action.
Thanks, Saret. I mean, when it comes to sharing our veto requests on the math screening or our request for a signature on the 70-day subs, it's all about making it personal, uplifting stories that reflect your district, your LEA, stories about impacts to students. Data is great, but as long as it tells that story of how things would have to be modified, changed, impaired, things you can uplift that really connect on that personal level will make your story, will make your position heard loud and clear when it gets to the governor's office. They know from us the statewide stats. They hear from us all the time. When it comes to these two critical bills, your direct engagement will make a difference. So I know we'll show up the email you can use to directly contact the governor's office again in this broadcast.
Yeah, that's right. Sarette Kaminsky, Dorothy Johnson, ACSA Legislative Advocates with us. If you have questions for Sarette and Dorothy, go ahead and put those into the chat. We'll try and tackle some of those coming up. Also in the comments section that we just had pop up, the email to the governor's office. So again, as the show is going on, if you want to copy that down. Dorothy, AB 2519, charter school administrators and their CalSTRS membership retention. What's the update there?
So we've got good news there. It moved off the suspense file and it is now awaiting action on the floor of the Senate for a full vote. We have no registered opposition. And for those that need the refresher, this is the bill that makes sure our charter administrators can keep their CalSTRS membership, even if they change positions within their existing employer or they move to a new charter school employer. This was a problem that we were alerted to in the winter of last year, a well-intended effort to clean up the way that CalSTRS does their audits, which, intends to not, ding retirees and change their benefits or ding school employers for contributions. It unfortunately created an oversimplification where charter school administrators could have been left out of membership prospectively after July 1, 2027. But working with CalSTRS, labor, and of course the author of the original bill, Tina McKinner out of Los Angeles, the Assembly member was willing to step up and help us find a solution so that our charter administrators don't have to make the choice of career advancement and development or keeping their CalSTRS membership.
Yeah, and Dorothy, I see a comment from Christopher Riley over in our chat that says this is great news for those of us who serve students at charter schools. Just a follow up for maybe a moment, little analysis here, because you said as far as AB 2519, no registered opposition to that. Surprise that there was no registered opposition. Surprised because usually when it comes to a piece of legislation, there's at least one group that's opposed to it. What do you see on this one?
I think it speaks to the groundwork that was laid as the bill was being developed. We made sure we had the policy, the politics, the technical expertise in place by bringing together all the stakeholders, because like you said, if there starts to be concerns about new pension costs or certain groups getting benefits over others, that's going to lead to a bill getting held on suspense or it not passing off the floor. But again, it really came down to doing the homework, knowing the issue, and getting it right. So when we were ready to introduce the bill later in the spring, we had all the right players ready to go. And so we're just so pleased to be partnering with other charter associations and having the CalSTRS team on board with us. I think another issue where things maybe didn't go as well is the cell phone ban bill for grades TK through 8. I know that came up on last week's legislative lunch break. That did not pass off suspense. And I think that bill failed because the author, Mr. Marisucci, Assemblymember Marisucci, they were moving too fast and weren't necessarily reaching out to all the necessary stakeholders as that bill was developed. So ultimately, that bill was held. Senator Perez in the Assembly Education Committee noted some of our concerns that said, hey, schools just passed your policy July 1. You've just gone through the time and taken the effort to create policies reflecting your school community, your parents' needs, your teachers' needs, your kiddos' needs. Why are we going to redo this and do a TK through 8 ban in a year and a half from now? So just a good example of why doing your homework in this setting in the legislature also pays off.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you have questions for Sarette or Dorothy, go ahead and put those into the chat. We'll try and tackle some of those near the end of the show. Sarette, two bills, Assembly Bill 2008 and Assembly Bill 2496, both focus on streamlining reporting. What can you tell us about those?
Well, streamlining reports has been a major focus of ACSA advocacy for years. These are two of ACSA's co-sponsored bills this year. Again, Diana Vu's been working really hard on these. AB 2008 Patel, that's authored by the chair of the Assembly Ed Committee. And what it would do is ensure that new reporting and planning requirements for LEAs do not persist indefinitely and unnecessarily. It also creates a streamlined grant reporting template for LEAs. And the other bill you mentioned, Naj, AB 2496 by Assemblymember Salache, that would require CDE to report on the School Accountability Report Card, or SARC, to identify similarities and differences with other education reporting systems and remove two elements of the SARC that were added years after the passage of Prop 98 and don't align with the original intent of SARC. This bill also removes the specific timeline requirement for a mid-year report on the annual update to the LCAP. So, you know, both of these bills, if they're passed, will allow LEAs to redirect the scarce staff resources from currently costly compliance activities to instead focus on what's most important, supporting our students. So both are in the Senate, no registered opposition. I know you just talked about that, so it's looking good. And it would, if passed in the Senate, go back to the House of Origin, which in this case is the Assembly.
I always like to point out when we have a little technical glitch, because we get to blame Edgar for that. And it allowed us to point out Carolyn Ash's comment, which Carolyn says, hello from Oakland. Really grateful to join for Edgar's roast. I mean, the legislative lunch break. So we can roast Edgar now because clearly he's not paying the bill on the internet over here inside ACSA headquarters. So we'll add that to his list of his to-do list when he gets back from dropping his daughter off at school. Dorothy, you mentioned earlier on in the show the last minute bills that show up as gut and amend bills. They include a proposal on wildfire liability imposed on utility companies. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so this is something we're just getting word about. And these situations, you need to be ready to activate, but you also don't want to get ahead of yourself before you know some of the details. So this is a 6-bucket comprehensive package that the administration will be releasing dealing with wildfires when utility companies, PG&E, Southern California Edison, is found to be responsible for the cause. The issue we're most concerned about is cost containment provisions, which are sort of highlighted as being beneficial, helping ratepayers, but ultimately we're concerned that this could have serious impacts on school finance, school facilities, and ability to secure affordable insurance coverage. Now, again, we don't have language, but we are doing our due diligence, reaching out to the legislature, administration, Department of Finance, to see what we can learn. I mean, at this point, we don't even know if school districts are included, but we do know there will be at least indirect impacts if the state changes a way that public agencies can pursue cost recovery from those utilities. So I would say stay tuned, get ready. This could be a final weekend fight. Again, that 72-hour print rule. In one scenario, we could see language on that Thursday evening, Friday. The legislature waits their 72 hours, and Monday, the 31st, the final day, they take a vote. So again, we're ready to ramp up, working with my colleague, our fellow legislative advocate, Cordell Hampton, to make sure we're fully prepared to speak to the possible impacts to schools. Naj, I think you're on mute. Can we blame Edgar?
Let's blame Edgar for that one. Absolutely. There you go. There's two things now. Over in the comments section, we've put a veto request letter template for you. You can download that and participate in our advocacy attempts. Okay. And I know because Surette and I had a whole discussion about this morning as we walked into work, not together, just she caught me in the parking structure as we were walking in, about crystal ball. So take a moment, okay, bring out your crystal ball. Next year, what should our members be prepared for? And I'm going to go to Surette because she's been planning her answer for hours now. Folks, get out your paper and write down the predictions here. Go ahead, Surette.
Oh, geez. It was just because I did that with the ball. Okay. Look, Naj, you know I'm superstitious. I'm not going to talk about things that I think are like really like hopping, you know. But I will bring up health. I think that that's what we'll see some more of next year. This year, we saw a package of 3 bills that would provide mental health training for youth coaches. I anticipate that youth mental health will continue to be a focus. And, right now in the news, you see that case against Meta and addictive feeds. So there might be more in that realm. I think also vaccines will likely come back as a focus. We've talked about this before. ACSA has put in a lot of work to oppose AB 2651 by Assemblymember Bonta. This was on the grounds that the way schools were involved in the implementation, this bill would have had us noticing all the families in schools within 10 business days if we had gone below herd immunity in schools. We had worked really closely with the author on different amendments, but we just couldn't find common ground there. And we were opposing it on the implementation side. It would have created some ongoing administrative costs, a workload for LEAs, but also not, in our opinion, effectively addressing the underlying concern about low vaccination rates. So this bill, it didn't make it out of that last fiscal hurdle. That being said, there might be some appetite to double down on California's robust vaccination requirements and protect them in lieu of federal changes like last week's presidential executive order. And for those who didn't catch it in the news, it reduced the number of childhood vaccination recommendations by the federal government from 17 to 11. So there might be some more on that realm.
And Dorothy, I don't think you necessarily have a crystal ball like Surratt does, but your crystal ball predictions for next year.
Yeah, I would say the hardest thing is we don't know who is going to be in those seats after the election. So that could change things. And fortunately, in addition to Surratt's crystal ball, we have our One Voice for Students platform. This is our North Star that we update every 2 years with the new legislative session, and then we do a mid-year update. But not only are we going to use maybe Surratt's crystal ball, but we have our councils and our regions at ACSA that we're going to help to develop this One Voice for Students platform that you can find on our advocacy page on the ACSA website. So they're going to not only predict what we think we'll see, we're going to help steer what we want to happen. So I'm really looking forward to that process. But I'll hit, quickly, of course, AI and social media impacts on students. Definitely going to see that. Our labor partners always have a slate of bills related to employment practices, contracting out, and a host of other issues that may make our hiring decisions and staff management a little more challenging. And then, curious to see what's going to unfold with our workplace violence prevention plans. That's always a hot topic, making sure we've got safe work sites with Cal OSHA and a number of other state agencies. So that's what I'm planning to be working on next year, in addition to maybe, a couple thousand other bills with my fellow legislative advocates.
Just so you guys know, I have written down your predictions here so that next year when we come back for this broadcast next August, I can be like, Dorothy, Surratt, you guys were absolutely correct, or you absolutely messed this entire thing up.
Not that paper looked like a paper you're about to lose.
Only if it gets stolen out of my office. Dorothy Johnson, Surratt Kaminsky, ACSA Legislative Advocates. Surratt and Dorothy, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
And folks, if you like what you've seen here on the ACSA Legislative Lunch Break, we invite you to become part of the Legislative Lunch Break family. You can like us, subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. When you do and you turn on your notifications, you'll get instant alerts when we're about to come on with breaking news, and then reminders about our regularly scheduled Wednesday broadcasts. If you have great stories happening in your school communities, we want to tell those stories too. Send your news releases, talking points, and photos to our EdCal editor, Michelle Carl at mcarl@acsa.org. Also want to tell you that we have a new edition of the Critically Conscious Classroom. That is available right now on our ACSA YouTube page, as well as Spotify and Apple Music. You can tune in to the Critically Conscious Classroom on any of those platforms. Folks, thanks so much for joining us here on the live and interactive ACSA Legislative Lunch Break. A reminder, we are here live and interactive Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Have a great rest of the day and rest of the week, and we'll see you next time.